Good morning. My name is John Krasinski. I'm here with Andrew LaSalle of LaSalle Reps. I'm from Eaton's Crouse Hinds. We appreciate your time this morning. What we're going to talk about or go into is our pre-formance product offering, something that's been out for several years of Crouse Hinds. Traditionally, you think about Crouse Hinds, large, heavy, industrial, explosion-proof wastewater treatment plants, petrochems, all very viable items that we're still doing and using right now. As the market has changed and grown over the last 15 to 20 years, we've entered more into the commercial offering, which is one of the things we're going to talk about with our pre-formance line, which is really going to be geared to work with us right now. It's going to be talking about your project and job site management, and what some of the processes and challenges you run into. One of our real goals to try and get into is it's going to be with the labor or the labor savings. We're not looking to change, how you go to market. We're not looking to take work away from people. What our real goal is to make the job more competitive, because if your contractor is more competitive on the job and can do it, he gets the job, you get the job, we get the job, and we're able to move along with that. In the presentation, you're going to see, as Andrew goes some of the things, what our flexibility is. What we're able to do is really tailor it to what your customer needs are going to be, from the very simple, basic things to the complete application and complete construction of the job and stuff. When you come out to, you're up against some of your competitors where skilled labor is not being used in a lot of things. With this, we're able to use, we do a union shop, IBEW, we're able to do our manufacturing. It's going to help you now overall with, you're not out searching for the material, it all comes kitted, assembled, in the transition, something gets lost to the job site, it's all time that's lost along the lines there. You talk about, non-value added, it talks about 40% of labor allocation is non-value tasks. It's people searching for material, what's missing, what happened along the line. We're trying to optimize your time overall and simplify the installation through the pre-assembly process. And again, as you see, we do have some of the product in front of us that we'll be talking about. It reduces the overall site complexity, the waste, the material, things getting lost on the time. The bottom line goal increases your productivity and the profit for yourself and also for the contractor. We talk about it, we see the number of properly trained electricians continues to drop out in the market. The larger contracting firms are having trouble filling salaried and hourly positions. 60% is the market that's telling us that contracting firms are having trouble hiring electricians out there. Product timelines are becoming more condensed. Projects are more complex. So we have a larger job out here, could be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 units. We can stage that out there where you're going to have deliveries each week. So you're not going to have 3,000 units on site. You're going to have what's tailored to fit for you. If you need 200 a week, we work the schedule out for you. That way, you're not warehousing it, you're not having your money tied up in that, and you're able to just have a smoother flow at the job site.
So John went through a lot of the basics of why pre-formance, why it makes sense. The logistics behind it is a big part of it. I'm going to go through a little bit of the product and the differentiations between the different solutions that we have to market. As you can see, there's multiple levels and intensity of how we handle prefab assemblies, and this is really prefab rough-in products. So basic assemblies, you can kind of see on the screen. I'll hold up an example here. It could be as basic as a box with a pre-wired pigtail or ground tail. It can be more complex with internal MC connectors, mud rings, and so forth. So this is something that is readily available, and contractors can either pick it up from a supplier that may have it in stock, or the factory typically can push these out within a couple days. Midterm, as you could continue to progress, basically you go into an assembly type of product which incorporates a wiring device. So we basically take that product, the box, the bracket, the mud ring, and we incorporate a device. So this is an example of it. We have a steel cover plate on it, a mud ring, a steel box. The good thing with the Crouse Hinds solution is that it's a part of an Eaton family of products, so we can really marry a whole host of different brackets and boxes. If it's a wide box, a 4-inch square box, if it's an open stud-to-stud bracket, a slider bar bracket, all of these can be just made as an assembly with any type of device. We lean toward the Eaton Arrow Heart device. Again, another synergy within the Eaton family of businesses, but if there is a hard spec on a device, we can kind of go through that and utilize a different device brand if needed. Custom and complex kind of starts to become a little bit more entailed, where we take a look at drawings and we look at architecturals and electrical drawings. We put MC whips on it, we put MC connectors on it. Everything gets labeled and corresponds to a fully, what we call, complete or engineered solution. And as we go through some of the slides, you'll see some of the intensity of the drawings and how all of these products kind of align. So we'll progress through that and kind of get into some more detail of how these differentiate.
And one note on there, as we talked, we have the basic assembly, the custom, the complete. You know, certain other competitors out there have a catalog and they have, this is what they offer. We certainly offer that. We have that. One of our claims to fame and one of our strengths is blank piece of paper. You tell us what you need and we can make that. Yes. You know, Andrew mentioned, you know, we're going to default to a Cooper wiring device. If it needs to be another brand, we can do that. If it needs to be a certain type of clip, we can do that. We have the flexibility to manufacture. Manufacturing on the East Coast out in Pittsburgh is where our manufacturing facility is. This is, you know, again, union made. You know, it can have an IBW label on there, and it is made in the U.S.
So we'll go through some of project applications just so you can be aware of what project type to be on the lookout for, or what contractor type to be on the lookout for, and what product silo or category really is going to best suit that project or best suit that contractor. So, you know, we went through some of the basic assemblies, or what that was, you know, really without a device, very mechanical in nature. You know, your box, your bracket, your mud ring, you know, we can put MC connectors on it, we can put EMT connectors on it. So very basic, and that's just, you know, quick off-the-shelf, tenant fit-out type work, quick turnaround projects, things that, you know, are not involving the device but readily available, and it still enhances the speed of installation in the field because you're not having to take this bracket, screw or mount a box on top of that, put the mud ring on the box and the ground tail. There's 4 or 5 components that go into a basic assembly. When you go into the assembly piece of it, when you're starting to include the device, that starts to get into a little bit larger of a project. So a mid to large office tenant fit out project where there's a little bit of time, you know, multiple floors type of thing where you can you know kind of what the counts are going to be, you know what your device style and color are going to be. So that's more suited type of project, type of contractor when you're talking that mid-assembly type solution. Small to mid-size high-rise or mid-rise residential, things that are using, you know, 1,000 receptacles, several hundred GFCIs and switches, of course, going a course of the project, where we can actually take that and we can deliver it as a deliverable of just receptacles, just switches, so that they can kind of put them where needed, or we can actually take that on ourselves, look at the drawings, and what we do is we kind of put, or what we call kitting, where we actually put the amount of devices, assemblies, switches, receptacles, GFCIs, and we kit that per unit type, and we label that, so logistically it sets up the project much cleaner. This has a slight lead time to it. There's a little bit more thought behind it. There's a little bit more discussion between the office at the contractor, you know, about a 2 to 3 week lead time. And then as we progress into complex, we're basically taking the assembly with the pre-wired device, and it's getting further enhanced with us adding MC whips attached. And we basically look at the electrical drawings, we look at the architectural drawings, we figure out the layout and the design of the units, the design of the floors, So, what you're looking for on this type of solution is a larger project, something that's going to have repetitive unit layout. So think of a large high-rise residential building, university, dorms, hotels, assisted living, things that are going to have, 51 bedroom apartments and 22 bedroom apartments, things that start to become repetitive in nature. Typically with those larger projects, there's time behind it to get into the detail and minutia of how things are going to be circuited and the layout and the design. And we're kind of a team member with the contractor when it comes to that. We help with those type of upfront questions and routing and circuiting and so forth. So that's kind of how the Complete goes into the space and the markets that they serve. We've recently had, on the New York side, more specifically, successes with prefab terminated load centers. So that's a UL-listed prefab terminated load center where we take the load center. It doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. It could be Square D, Eaton, Siemens. Our shop takes that in, pre-terminates the breakers with whips to get to your home run circuit within the unit. So that's something that we've seen recent successes with as well. So this is very involved. It's not for every project. It's not for every contractor, but it's definitely probably the most conducive when it comes to time and labor savings and just efficiency in the field. And you can see on the bottom, the lead time stretches out, right? As we need all this information in detail, you're looking at about 8 weeks from order entry to get engineered drawings and product on site.
Right. As one thing Andrew had mentioned, so with the Complete, it is for where you're going to have repetitive modules. This would not be something for residential where they're building houses, but high rises, university dormitories, assisted living are very big on that. We do want to be in earlier on the process, again, because there's some time in there. We wouldn't want to start on this on Friday and have product expected on Monday. We also want to be in with the decision makers, the people that are looking at and controlling the dollars on this thing here. It's probably not going to be the electrician doing the install in the field. It's going to be his project manager in the office or actually the ownership of the distribution. You take us out on the calls, and what we're able to do is we can tell you if the job is going to be viable. As Andrew mentioned, not every job fits in this mold, but we'll tell you what will work and what won't work.
So this is just a quick snapshot of what our takeoff and bill of materials summary looks like. So just to kind of give everyone a feel of how detailed we come out with our bill of material and takeoffs. You can see on the left side, it's a basic description. So top one, duplex receptacle. You'll see on the bottom side of that, there's actually a detailed description of what that duplex means. So on the bottom, you'll see it's a 16-inch sliding bracket with a 4-inch box and a 20-amp commercial decor grade receptacle. So it details out exactly what we're providing. And then if you kind of go down the column, it really shows exactly the counts and types of receptacles that we're carrying for every unit type. So we can go in and say that each unit type, this specific unit type has 10 duplex receptacles, it's got 1 GFCI, it's got 1 duplex plus data. So that's kind of an example of that, where we're ganging them together in a bracket. And it outlines everything that we're providing. You'll see that in between there's a cable summary, so it just kind of gives you a snapshot of how much cable we're assuming to need to complete the project, whether it's 12.2, 12.3, 8.3, 10.3, depending on if there's power receptacles, PTAC units within those units as well. So a very detailed bill of material. It's not a large lot net quote that just gets sent out with no basis behind it. This is completely upfront and transparent so that we can have, to John's point, pretty viable discussions with the contractor, ownership, PMs, on what we're providing, what aren't we providing, so it's very transparent. And then I'm going to go through, this page basically dictates how we come up with this page. So this page is a snapshot of the electrical drawings that we would send to the factory. and the factory would take this and put this into their models and do a count on either the unit or the floor, depending on how the building is set up and what's more conducive to put that bill of material together. But this kind of shows you, again, we send this with the takeoff and the bill of material, just so everything is above board. Contractor knows what is being assumed by us or what's being provided by us, so that there's no, hey, you missed this receptacle, you missed this switch, or where is the data. Everything is kind of outlined, highlighted, marked on the contract drawings, and sent back to them for review.
Right, and it's very common, too, on the more complex jobs. We might have one or two conference calls after some of the preliminary drawings come out to make sure, everyone is on board with what we're providing. We don't want any exclusions or any problems down the road. So
this is tough to read on the PowerPoint, but we'll try and hold one up to see if you can get a better look at it. But this is post-purchase order. This is what a contractor can expect in a fully engineered solution.
It's going to have the drawings, but the drawings are going to reference down to the Mylar labels on here, so you're going to know where everything goes. It's almost trying to make it a little bit plug and play. So they're able to know this references to what drawing, what room, what location, what part of the project that it's going to.
In the top right-hand corner, tough to see, but that's basically a one-line diagram that shows exactly what circuits are going to what assembly type. Below is a 3D Revit model of how all of the cable is recommended to be routed. This specific example, the home runs are going back to a unit load center within this unit, and then the left, screen or the left snapshot, is basically a flat 2D model of how things are being circuited and things are being routed. So between all three of these, they should have a really good understanding in the field of how to wire a unit apartment. This sheet comes as a drawing size sheet with every shipment for every unit. So this is what the contractor would ultimately get and see on site. And the chart that's referenced in the upper left-hand corner, to John's point, corresponds to this tag that's on the assembly. So this may be assembly number 1. Within that chart, it's going to say assembly number 1, and then the diagram on the below is going to show you where that goes. And within that matrix is going to say how long is the cable. It's a 20-foot 12-2 whip, and it's feeding a fixture, or it's feeding the next receptacle. And all of those kind of align. Assembly 1 is feeding assembly 2, is feeding assembly 3, and you kind of use the circuiting and the drawing models to really wire a unit apartment.
Right, and when we're doing a complete, we're working off of master reels. We build to the length that's needed with a little bit of overage in it. And one of the goals is not to have a job site where you've got thousands of feet of small scrap pieces of cable laying around that wind up going into the garbage. That's one of the cost savings there, plus the cleanup that you're going to have on the job site.
Yeah, there are a lot of ancillary benefits to beyond just the ease and speed of installation. Not having to manage, the sale with the contractor, or the contractor asking for 100 boxes every day and 50 ground tails, and I forgot to order mud rings, and everything is a scramble and a rush. This basically coordinates everything, consolidates everything. We ship it, we palletize per floor, and we ship and label per unit. So we would ship, say, a 4th floor of a building, and if there's 10 units on there, every box would be labeled what unit it is. So, box 1 of 3 in unit number 401, and so forth.
And we work with the contractor to find out their certain preferences. Certain contractors are going to want an MCQ connector. Certain ones are going to want an EMT connector. We tailor it to fit exactly what they need, because everyone has their preferences out there. We're not trying to force feed anything into the people.
Here's just kind of some overall support tools that we have access to, which ultimately would benefit you, benefit the contractor, and we'd love to share that with you as far as catalogs and selection guides for some of our basic assemblies, whether it's just a box, a bracket, and a ground tail. There's part numbers assigned to that, whether it's a decor receptacle, with a slider bar type of bracket that has a part number. So we have catalogs and brochures and selection guides that can get you through some of the basic assemblies. We have a configurator, as you'll see in kind of that larger image, that will shoot out a submittal package. So you'll see in this example, it's a 1900 box with a slider bar and a mud ring. This one doesn't have a device, but if there was a device there, the device image would spit out, and there would be a cut sheet of what device we'd be utilizing within that project. So we can provide more very detailed proposals, and contractors can use this for submission when putting forth their rough-in and device submittal package. And then project management from our side, as far as local support, going on multiple job sites, making sure the job runs smooth, making sure any changes or tweaks that are needed are made and adjusted at the factory accordingly, whether it's bracket types or box types, going from deep to shallow. So that's stuff that we help manage locally. And as you further progress down the product scale, and the more complex you go, the more project management and involvement we take on, because of the level of detail and the discussions that are needed to make a successful job and a smooth job.
Yeah, we're a local team, with the direct factory people of Crouse or with LaSalle and their complete team. So we're here. We're based out of New Jersey, New York. We're on the job sites, and we're going to be following the job from the start to the finish.
I think that wraps it up. I know we went through a lot in pretty short order as far as, what product or customer makes sense for a solution, the types of solutions. If there are any
reach out to us.
Any questions now, feel free to ping through, and we'll try and answer them the best we could.
And if you want to reach out, if there's a customer, or a job that you know about, do you want to know, do you think it's a good fit? Do we want to do a joint call out there? We're open to all of that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, and again, feel free to reach out at any point, and we'll try and see if any of these products work for a customer or project that you guys may have in mind.
Thank you again.